Time Stories with CrispySkates, and we are picking up where we left off with the wind and the willows. All right. One fine morning, the rat whose turn it was to go on duty went upstairs to relieve Badger, whom he found fidgeting to be off and stretched his legs in a long ramble round his wound and down his earths and burrows. Toad's still in bed, he told the rat. Down his earths and burrows, Toad's still in bed. Outside the door, can't get much out of him except, oh, leave him alone. He wants nothing. Perhaps he'll be better off. Presently, it may pass off in time. Don't be unduly anxious, and so on. Now you look here, old rat. When Toad's quite submissive and playing, being the superhero of a school Sunday surprise, then he's at his fullest art, his artfulest. There's to be sure something up. I know him well. Well, now I must be off. There you are today, old chap, inquired the rat cheerfully as he approached Toad's bedside. He had to wait some minutes for an answer. At last, at last, a feeble voice replied, "Oh, hi, Dark Thomas. Or Dark Dreams? How are you?" At last, he had to wait some minutes for an answer. At last, a feeble voice replied, "Thank you so much, dear Ratty. So good of you to inquire. But first, tell me how you are yourself, and then, excellent Mole." "Aw, that's so sweet of you. I'm so glad you're here today." "Dear kind rat," murmured the toad, "how little you realize my condition, and how very far I am from jumping up now. If ever, but I do trouble about me. I hate being a burden to my... Let me just turn our page here. Hi, welcome to my friends, and I do not expect to be one much longer. Indeed, I almost hope not. Well, I hope not too, said Rat heartily. You've been fine brother to us all this time, and I'm glad to hear it's going to stop. And in weather like this, the boasting season just beginning. It's too bad of you, Toad. Isn't it trouble we mind? You, but you're making us miss such an awful lot. I'm afraid it is the trouble you mind through, replied the toad lamely, and I can understand it. It's natural enough. You're tired of it bothering me. I mustn't ask you to do anything further. I'm a nuisance, I know. You are indeed, said the rat. But I tell you, I'd take any on you on earth for you, if only you'd be sensible, animal. If I thought that, Ratty, murmured the toad, more feebly than ever, I would beg you for the last time probably to step up to the village and quickly as possibly even now be too late and fetch the doctor. But don't you bother. It's only a trouble, and perhaps we may as well let things take their course. Why, what do you want from the doctor for? Inquired the rat. Coming closer and examining him, certainly lay very still, flat, and his voice was weaker and his manner much changed. Surely you have noticed of late, murmured Toad. But no, Why should you? Noticing is only one of those troubling things. Tomorrow, indeed, you may be saying yourself, oh, if I only had noticed sooner, if I had only done something. But no, it's a trouble. Never mind, forget I asked. Look here, old man, said the rat, beginning to get rather alarmed. Of course I'll fetch you a doctor, if you really think you need one. But you hardly can be enough of that yet. Let's talk about something else. I fear, dear, said Toad, with a sad smile, that talk can do little in a case like this, or doctors either, for that matter. Still, one mustn't grasp the slightest straw. And by the way, while you are here about it, I hate to give it to you additional trouble, but I happen to remember that you will pass the door. Would you mind at the same time asking the lawyer to step up too? It would be a convenience of me. There are moments, perhaps I should say, there is a moment when you must face a disagreeable task at whatever cost to exhaust a nature. A lawyer? Oh, he must be really mad. The averagated brat to himself and hurried on to his room, not forgetting, however, to lock the door carefully behind him. Outside, he stopped to consider. The other two were far away, and he had no one to consult. It's best to be safe side, he said on the reflection. I've known Toad fancy himself frightfully bad before, without the slightest reason, but I've never heard him ask for a lawyer. There's nothing really to the matter. The doctor will tell him there's an old ass and to cheer up. That's something gained. I'd better humor him and go get it. It won't take very long. So he ran off to the village and on his errand of mercy. The Toad hopped lightly out of the bed as soon as he heard the key on the lock. He watched eagerly from the window till he disappeared down the carriage drive, then laughed heartily. He dressed quickly as possible in the smartest suit he could lay his hands on in the moment and filled his pockets with cash. He took a small drawer in the dresser table. Just got water really. I'm just gonna take a real quick drink. I'm sorry. We're trying to get my son to sleep in his room tonight. It's a mission. Usually we make a transition. Okay. Meaning I move him over. Okay, here we go. So, in the gloomy luncheon for the rat, when the badger and the mole length returned, and he had to face them at the table with the pitiful, unconvincing story, the badger caustic not to say brutal remarks may be imagined, therefore passed over. But it was painful to the rat, even the mole, though he took his friend's side as far as possible and could not help saying, "You're Ben Bet Duffer, time ratty. Toad two of these animals. He did it awfully well. He did Crescent Fall, and he did awfully well," rejoined Badger hostily. "However, talking won't mend matters. He got clear away for the time, thus certain the worst of it all. He'll be conceited with what he'll think is cleverness, that he may commit folly. And uncomfort, we're free now and needn't waste any more time." but we'd better continue to sleep at Toad Hall for a little longer. Toad brought back at any moment on a stretcher or two between the two policemen. So spoke the Badger, not knowing for what the future held in store or much water, how turbid of a character was to run bridges before Toad should sit at the ease of again of his ancestral hall. Meanwhile, Toad Gay, the irresponsible, was walking briskly along the high road some miles from home. At first he had taken by paths and crossed many fields, though changed from his course several times in the case of the pursuit. But now, feeling by the time of his safe nature, the sun smiling brightly on him, and the nature joining the chorus of approvals and the song of the self-praise that his own heart was singing to him, he almost danced along the road in his self-satisfaction and conceit. "Smart piece of that work," he remarked to himself, chuckling. "Brain against brute force, and brain came out on top. As to the bounds to do, poor old Ratty, my, he won't catch it when Badger gets back. A worthy fellow, Ratty with many good qualities, but really very little intelligence, absolutely no education. I must take him in hand some day if I can, and make something of him." Filled with a conceited thought such of these, he strode along with his head in the air till he reached the little town where the sign of the Little Red Lion was swinging on the road halfway down the main street, reminded him that he had not eaten breakfast that day. He was exceedingly hungry after a long walk. He marched right into the inn and ordered the best luncheon that he could provide in short notice, and sat down to eat in the coffee room. He was about halfway through his meal when he saw two familiar sounds reapproaching down the street, and made him start and fall trembling over. The pop-pop drew nearer and nearer. The car could be heard turn down the end and come into the stop. The Toad had to hold to the leg in the inn yard and Toad had to hold to the leg of the table to conceal his excitement. Presently he partly entered the coffee room, hungrily talkative and gay, voluble to experiences of the morning and his merits of the chariot, and had brought them along so well. Toad listened eagerly, all ears for a time. There we go. And he could no longer take it. He slipped out of the room quietly and paid his bill. All right, you guys. He fell asleep. I'm going to try to sneak out and get in my own bed.